But I was always moved by and inspired by your drive and your passion. Your drive and your passion inspired me, and I think I've told you on more than one occasion that you make me wanna get in the car business. And so, I mean, it really has been a really gift for me to be able to watch that. What gets you up in the morning?
Oh, wow. I think just love. I mean, the connection that I have with the car business is in my family. So I'm the third generation of my family, like we've talked before, to do what I do. Mm-hmm. And when I was growing up, around when I was 7, 8 years old, my father became absent out of my life. And so I was desperate for that role model. And I looked and found my grandpa. And we're all good at different things in the world, and his just happened to be business and just professionalism and creating things. And so just because he was good at it, I wanted to be good at it. I remember going to the auctions with him as a kid, and I watched, and he kind of walks like with his feet, you know. And I remember looking at his feet, and I started trying to make my feet do that. I remember it.
You're like, right behind him.
Yeah. I was like, dude,
can you imagine?
His feet are, but then I was like, that actually doesn't look good, so I stopped.
How many years did that take you to realize that doesn't look good?
I got home and they're like, yeah, don't do that. So I just started emulating him and talking to him a lot. Yeah. And he owned a car dealership in Lebanon for almost 30 years.
Charlie Watson.
Ford. Yep.
Yes.
And so he owned it until 2005. I got there in 2006, so I missed it by just over a year. And he said, "You can do it on your own. I'm going south. You can do it like I did." But just watching him, and he became that role model for me, and became an inspiration to be great at it. Mm-hmm. And that's the foundation. Now, as you develop and you grow, you find things like I truly love cars. That's fun. I love building relationships. That's fun. But the foundation is the love and the admiration I had for my grandpa. That's what started all of it for me.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, was he good at it?
He's pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah. I still
what
haven't
made
gotten
him good
there yet.
at it?
I think, so I'll tell a story, I guess, that kind of connects it to, and I actually plan to tell it later today too, is I remember, so I started in the car business washing cars. That's where you have to start. That's like your pay your dues.
How old?
14.
Okay.
So I washed cars from 14 to 16, and then when I became 16, I started getting into a real dealership out of a used car lot into Lebanon Ford at 16.
So you're washing cars in the used car lot.
Yeah.
You're not even in the dealership.
No, not the big leagues yet. and so I started I did that for another 2 years, and then I got my opportunity to go into sales. And he called me and he said, "Hey, I heard you got a promotion." I was like, "Yeah, I did." And he said, "What's your job?"
So this isn't even with him.
No.
You're just doing your own deal.
Doing my
he said,
thing,
"Go get it."
Yeah. And I said, "My job is to sell cars." And he's like, "Nope." And I was like, "Okay, well, you must have bumped your head because I got a shiny business card that proves that's my job." And he goes, "Your job is to build relationships, identify and solve problems. If you do those two things really, really well, you'll be successful." And that's something that he was so good at, was he can look into a situation faster than anyone I've ever met and create a solution for a problem that a lot of people don't even know exists. So he can look into my situation, for example, and find, hey, this and this and this is causing you to not get the outcome you want. And he applied that to car deals and real estate and a lot of other areas, and I think that's what made him great. That's
really, again, inspiring to hear you say, because you take an industry where most people have a negative connotation.
Yeah.
You know, I was walking through our hall the other day and I ran into a lady that was looking for a car. And it was really easy for me to say, "Hey, I've got your answer." I could say it with confidently. I could say, you need to call my friend Charlie because he'll solve the issue for you. But out of the gate, people are thinking, "Oh, I'm going to go get taken."
Yeah.
And so you just nailed something, right out of the gate. Your differentiator is you're focused on the person, the relationship.
Yeah, the car doesn't
really
matter.
Solving their problem.
Yeah, and that's the way he taught me to do it. And there's two things about the negative connotation, which we laugh about. One, the bar is set extremely low, so that's kind of a positive. So it's not as hard to look good as maybe in other industries. So that's an advantage.
You're hot right out of the gate, baby.
So,
look at the rest of these clowns. I got you.
So that is. If you come with someone and you're presentable and your shirt's ironed and you look them in the eye and you answer their questions, you're already ahead. And so that was nice to get started, just to come in and have an advantage that way. But then there is the other side that is the challenge and the battle of you're guilty until proven innocent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit different than anything I was used to in my life. I remember when I was probably 18 and a half, just out of training, got my certification. I was ready to conquer the world. And I walked out the door and this lady saw me, and I swear to you, she dove headfirst into her car to get away from me. And I was like,
what'd I do?
What do I do? So that was that, and I had no idea. I didn't know about, because I grew up in a bubble. Like all of my family was the only car business I knew.
And it was your hero.
Yeah. So
You're thinking, why are these people running from?
Yeah, I had no idea. And she saw me, did the dive, and screeched the tires out. And then I was like, oh wow, so maybe this isn't going to be sunshine and rainbows. You have to prove yourself. So there's a positive to it and a negative.
So how did you manage through that rejection? Because most people, you get rejected like that, and they're going to run from it.
Yeah. Well, I started by hiding in the bathroom, and that didn't work because I have to make a living. You have to go towards the adversity.
So you would spend a lot of hours in the bathroom.
I was scared. Yeah. I've
Nothing
never
wrong with
been.
that?
I've only had one girlfriend my whole life. Married her. I'm not used to it. I'm not used to it. So it was very.
She didn't reject you.
No.
You weren't trying another one.
Yeah.
I'm going to the John.
Mom always told me I was great. So I was like, it truly, and it's funny, but it was, in the time it wasn't. It was a huge.
Painful.
Yeah, it was.
And we've all been there.
Yeah, and I was not successful in the beginning. The first few months, an average month for someone in the business would be 8 to 10 cars. And my first month I did 3. My second month I did 2, and my third month I did 4.
How many of those were family?
I don't remember.
3, 2, and 4.
Probably. It wasn't a good thing. It was, and I remember thinking maybe it skipped a generation. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this.
Start doubting yourself.
Yeah, there was a ton of doubt. But I had some good mentors in the business, one being my grandpa and some other managers that taught me just to stay true to the process and just keep pushing, and it all worked out, and it did.
So when you're in the middle, it's not that long ago for you from my perspective, but you're only 18 and a half years old. You're in the middle, and this is going to be something that most people can relate to. You're stuck. You're thinking, the doubt starts creeping in.
Yeah.
Do you remember what helped you overcome that?
Oh yeah, just my grandpa, which is probably people get annoyed hearing it.
No, I don't think they will.
It is something that I've just I had a hard time in school, for example, because the people I was listening to hadn't done the things I want to do, but he had done the thing that I wanted to do, and so I had 1,000,000% buy-in. And so every time I had a problem with that, I was on the phone with him. Hey, we got to figure this out. We got a whole new bag of issues. You put the other stuff on the back burner. We got to focus on this. I'm terrified to talk to people. That's not good for sales.
So you felt safe. You could go to him. And
he was like the wing I could hide under and work under, and he would build me up and tell me stories about how when he started, he told me this story that is super motivating to me. As first of all, he got into the car business because he got fired from his factory job for sleeping at work. So he was not super focused as a teenager.
Because he hated what he was doing.
Yeah, he was not into it. So he built boxes and built himself a little cave and would go in there and take a little nap and got caught. So then that's how.
That's pretty creative, Charlie.
So ended up in the car business, and he told me the story of he had peaks and valleys just like anybody else in the business. But there was a particular day it was cold, and I don't understand carbureted vehicles because it's before my time. But apparently back then, if the car wouldn't start, he would have to swap out the carburetor or do all kinds of things that we don't have to do now, thankfully. And he had this old guy who was not very pleasant to work with. The negative connotation was strong. He was not being very respectful or nice, and he had just ran into one after another in this particular snowy day. And he was like, "Dude, if I don't sell this car, I'm out." And he went out and gave it his best shot, and he sold the car, thankfully. And for whatever reason, had the best day of his career. He sold 8 cars that day as a salesperson, which just lit him on fire.
Doesn't happen, does it?
No. I've never done it. I've sold 7. That's the most I've ever sold in one day. And so 8 is unheard of. And so I think in his mind, he realized that pattern and pace is nothing if you're consistent. If you just consistently go and do your part, all the other pieces will fall together. And he kind of took that story and put it into me, and I was like, well, if he could do that, I could do it. And just kept pushing, and then, like you said, then all of a sudden 2 or 3 became 7, became 10, became 15, 20, 30, and just kept going. But the beginning was not an easy start.
Yeah. It's amazing to me, too, just the testament of someone investing in your life, you know, someone that is showing you love and care about what you've got going on, and how that changes your willingness to look and say, what you say is gold. I'm going to follow it to the T. And it's and what a gift for your grandpa. You know, for him to be able to watch you, I can't imagine the pride that he feels.
I do. I think that it does go both ways, because he is retired now. I mean, he does a lot of.
He doesn't stop,
does a lot of the real estate things, but I think he does miss the everyday of the business.
I bet.
And I think when I call him with my problems, and we get to work through them together, and he feels like he's kind of back in it.
Yeah.
So I do believe that it's mutually beneficial. I think we both really gain a lot. I get the experience, and he gets to be back in the action.
Yeah.
So it's
cool.
Cool.
That's so cool. So you started selling cars 11 years ago. You started washing them 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so today you find yourself running Beachmont Ford, Mount Orem Ford. Is that right?
So I do. I help a lot. It's a joint effort. There's a team of 6 of us that operate the group, and then Mark Williams is he's getting to the point in his life and his career where he wants to kind of step back a little bit.
He's looking for somebody to take the reins, maybe.
And so he relies on the 6 of us to manage the different departments, and we all have different skill sets. We have a guy that's financially incredibly smart. He's like a human calculator.
Yeah.
He can find numbers extremely quickly. We have a guy that's extremely trustworthy, been with the group for 25 plus years and way more experienced than the young accounting guy and myself. And then Josh is his son, who works there with us, who Ken Haynes has been with the group for a long time. So the thing that I bring to the table is I have the most recent success in sales, like actually being on the front line, and then also the marketing branding side. That's what I love to do. I love to tell stories through that. So it has gone from a transactional, just transaction by transaction was my day-to-day, and now it's more helping guide something bigger, which is fun.
Oh my gosh. So Charlie, talk a little bit about, so you're a Ford dealership. So there's lots of Ford dealerships.
Yeah.
You guys, as far as I know, Ford's giving you guys all the same cars, right?
Yeah.
So what makes you guys better?
That's an awesome question, and that is a question we had to ask ourselves to try and figure out. Now, with the internet and all the information, you can get everything you need to purchase a car from your living room. You don't need to go out and go from lot to lot to get the information. And so we had to ask ourselves, what are we going to do to serve best? Like, what are we going to do to invest into our customers? And so we took a lot of the traditional advertising money and effort and time and invested that into what we call our Dealership for Life program. And the idea behind the program is pretty much what it sounds like. We want to be your dealership for life. We want to be your solution for life. So in doing that, we have, which we've talked about, our own insurance agency in-house. We have a body shop in-house. You can do all your recall and service in-house.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, so we wanted to be a holistic, if it's got wheels, we want to be the solution. That's kind of what we went. And then we took that a step further and said that if you purchase from us and you follow the guidelines and do what you're supposed to do, we will warranty it forever. And so we're the only Ford dealership in the area that is invested into having a lifetime powertrain warranty. So the warranty that you get from the manufacturer is 5 years and 60,000 miles with Ford. That's your powertrain warranty. We have taken that and said, as long as you do your maintenance with us and we can kind of keep checking on it, making sure it's okay, you're unlimited miles, unlimited years.
You're betting on your people.
Yeah. So we're taking and there's going to be financial issues that pop up.
Things will go wrong.
They're going to go wrong. Even if you maintain things perfectly, it's a machine, things are going to go wrong. But we believe that in the long run, if we invest that time, energy, and those resources into our customer base, they'll reinvest back into us, and their kids and then their cousins and their friends will all come to us. And so the thing that makes us different, and I think gives us a competitive advantage in the market, is we truly want to and have an action plan in place to be your dealership forever. And I think that most dealerships operate on a transactional level, a day-to-day, transaction to transaction. We don't do that.
They're not looking in the future.
Yeah, we're talking about the relationship, your dealership for life, beyond the transaction.
Man, that's really cool. So when you sat down to develop that plan, pardon me, who did you engage? Was it the 6 of you? Did you go? Okay.
Yep, the 6 of us sat. I remember the day because Mark Williams is somebody that I look up to a lot. I've got to add him and Ken Haynes and Jeff Fithen to the list of mentors that I do have, because they've been and done what I want to do again. But we came together and tried to, that again, the conversation of what can we do to differentiate ourselves? How can we be this solution for the long term? And that's when Mark came and said, we are going to warranty their cars forever. And it was so awesome. Like just the concept and the idea of it was so exciting, because I'd never heard of that from a Ford dealership before. There's always terms, there's always end dates. It's just the way the car, and it makes sense. It's logical because a machine can only last so long. But Mark's concept is, if you invest in us and you build into the relationship and allow us to maintain your vehicle, we will warranty it for life. And it was awesome.
That's amazing. So what do you see as threats? Have you guys spent some time talking about that? What are the threats that you see that would keep you from getting to where you want to go?
So there's a couple things. Obviously, one, when you invest the amount of resources and time and man hours and money and everything that we have into this program like we have, it does distract from attracting new business, which, believe it or not, is a threat. Like, you want to develop your core, but if you're not growing it, you're messing up. And so I think our biggest threat is focusing so much internally on the people we know. We can't become blind to get out and meet new people and bring more people into the family.
Which is a hard thing to do.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
so how are you doing?
I think the biggest thing that we're doing is, our concept is, I mean, obviously we do our traditional advertising we were talking about, innovative ways through video and Facebook marketing. I'm trying to take Josh and Chloe, which are Mark's children. They're our spokespeople for the dealership, and I'm trying to get people to know them on a personal level. So you see them on TV, you see them doing their commercials, but I also do things like this, just like what we're doing now. We have roundtable talks with Chloe and Josh. And the whole concept behind that is Chloe and Josh sitting around a basic round table and just talking.
Get to know us.
Yeah, so we're trying to take the same concept that we have from a business model of retaining customers and taking that to the market and saying, hey, this is who we are, this is what we believe in, and this is Josh and Chloe, this is the future of our company. Get to know them. I mean, and I think that's what's going to help us not only get the people that we've known for 25 years, but also meet new people and bring new people into the family. So.
And if you take that back to your experience, the lady that was diving into her car to hide from you, if she would have had a chance to get to know you or your grandpa at that point, she's running to you, not away
if
from
only
you.
I could have sent her a video before.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'm not running from Josh and Chloe. I want to get to know Josh and Chloe. I know who Josh and Chloe are.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
your branding.
That's the concept, is branding as people, real people that love what we do. We're here to run a business and to make things happen, but we're real people with real families and real interests and real hobbies, and we're trying to put that out in front of people so they know when they walk in, like, oh, I see you on Facebook, we hear it all the time, because I use my son even in promotional things.
Well played, brother. That boy is as cute as they get.
No shame.
No shame.
But it is like, people appreciate it. Like, there'll be customers that I haven't seen in a year, and they're like, oh, Mark's getting so big. And it's so, like thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I just believe in the relationship, and everything we do stems back to that. Yeah,
it's so cool, because if you think about it, and I know your beliefs are similar to mine. In very simplistic form, we were made to be in relationships. Period. End of story. So you take the car business, you take the insurance business, you take whatever you want to fill in the blank. At the core of it, people were made to be in relationships, and the more tied you can get them to who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, the more success you're going to have.
Yeah, and that's a point that my grandpa, he told me when I was young, again, getting started. He said, you need to be careful not to get distracted by cars. You like cars too much. And I was like, well, I'm in the car business. And he's like, no, you're in the people business. The cars are just a little tiny detail of what you do.
So wise.
Yeah.
Who taught him that? How did he go from hiding in a box, sleeping? What was that epiphany for him?
We've talked about this a bunch. He was so he's from Richmond, Indiana. His dad was a trash truck driver, and they all kind of were trying to find their way and get in. And he had a deep insecurity with his education. He dropped out at 7th grade, maybe 7th or 8th, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Success story.
but it was always a big insecurity with him. So he bought every book, every tape, every soundtrack, everything. He was
going to figure it out.
Yeah, there was no rock and roll on the way to the auctions. It was like developing his brain and figuring things out. And he built an education through just purchasing Earl Nightingale tapes. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that is where I think he found, and then he put action behind what he listened to. Mm-hmm. And I think he just did that and just kept repeating the process over and over. And that's what it was, that insecurity of the education level that he had.
He was going to go get it, and then some.
Because he wanted to be smart. I mean, he was on the board of regents at Oral Roberts University with a 7th grade education. He's like, they're going to think I'm a scam. Like, he never told you. He was embarrassed by that. He
gives me chills.
Yeah. Man. And so he was on the board of regents of a university and was in charge of helping guide their financial plans for the future, mm-hmm. and had dropped out in middle school. Mm-hmm. And so he wanted to, when he sat down with a guy, he wanted to be as educated as he was, maybe not in the same way. Maybe not not in a traditional university, but mm-hmm. he had put in the hours to gain the knowledge and practice it. Mm-hmm. So,
just so inspiring.
Yeah,
so inspiring. So I know you do a lot of the same.
Yep.
You are constantly taking in information and
mm-hmm.
data. Who's your go-to?
Well, him first, and this is it's kind of cheesy, but I love, even though the things are laughable from Earl Nightingale because he's so outdated. He was old when my grandpa was listening to him back in the day.
I don't know who it is.
Yeah, he's like Acres of Diamonds, and he talks about a lot of really successful practices that have been handed down from generations. Mm-hmm. And some of the examples he gives, like talking about a salary of $11,000 a year and stuff that are for a high producer and stuff are kind of
outdated.
You have to look over that. But just listening to him, and again, just the love of knowing I'm doing what my grandpa was doing 40, 50 years ago, the exact same way he was doing it, just gives me a ton of motivation. Mm-hmm. And then we bounce things off of each other. So how did you apply that? How do I apply this? And then mm-hmm. taking the things I learned from some of his mentors and then some of the new guys as well, and trying to find somewhere in the middle of taking a modern approach to things that have been proven over 50, 60 years. Mm-hmm. So having that classic foundation with the new stuff and then bouncing it all off him mm-hmm. is what helps.
So is Mark going to get in the car business?
We talk about that a lot. He is.
Oh, wait a minute. How old is Mark?
He's 4.
Okay.
4 years old.
And Mark's still talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not washing cars yet, is he?
Not yet. He helps me, and he's genuinely involved in the promotional thing. He has a Beach Mop Ford badge with his title on the badge is like, I think, fun and activity director or something like that. Yeah. I can't remember. But we made him a badge and everything, and so he's very much involved. And this is something that Katie and I have talked about very seriously, because I think as a parent, you want your son on the varsity team and to do all this stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, whatever he wants, I hope he does. I mean,
yes.
if he's willing, I would love to take him with me.
Yeah.
I think that would be so fun.
I mean, how could you not share a passion with the things that you love most in the world?
Yeah.
You know?
I think he will very much be involved. And it's the same thing with Mark Williams and Josh Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark's in it and has been in it forever. Now Josh, he's my age, he's 29, and he's coming up just like his dad did and kind of taking the reins and learning the company and stuff. And so I would love to have that same relationship with Mark someday and do that.
That is so cool, Charlie.
Yeah.
So next 5 years for you, what's it look like?
Lots of learning. So one thing that was a big opportunity that I got when I joined on with Mark Williams just over 3 years ago was he actually gave me the resources and time and finances and everything to go to dealer school, which is in Kansas City through NCM. And the number one takeaway, well, there's several, but the number one takeaway that I had from that is I don't know anything about the business. I thought I was ready. Like, I thought I was like, man, I could run a dealership
You're ready
today.
To go.
I'm ready. No, there's so many different layers and so many things to learn. And so just my goal is completely based around learning for the next 5 years and just soaking up, spending as much time as I can with Jeff Fithen, with Ken Haynes, with Mark Williams. And those are the
people that have been down the road.
Yeah, people that have done what I want to do. So the next 5 years for me is just sponge mode, taking in every single detail, every word they say. I try to be, if they need me to somebody take notes, I'll sit in the meeting and take notes just so I can listen to what they're saying back and forth to each other. So that's the next 5 years for me are just going to develop, help grow the company, pushing it in a positive direction, and learn every day. That's it.
So as a 29-year-old with a young family, how do you balance both work and your passion for family?
That's an everyday struggle, and trying to just being aware of it, because I've gotten to a point where I feel much better balanced now than I was a few years ago, because I was in a place a few years ago where I would say is unhealthy. It was an unhealthy drive. I would stay up all night thinking about promotions and building promotions in the middle of the night.
Yeah, your drive has been insane.
It was to the point where I felt it was almost unhealthy. And so I've tried to not lose any of it, but channel it and control it instead of, it's just like fire. So controlling fire versus letting it just run
That's a great analogy.
Just holding on to it and channeling it to make it laser focused instead of a forest fire.
Absolutely.
And so just being aware of the dangers of not having a balanced life, and my responsibility to my wife and my kids is far greater than what it is to any professional goal. So I think just awareness and everyday work. I'm not great. I still have a lot of work to do in that area, is to find a way to turn it off at certain points and forget about it for a few hours. I'm not very good at that yet, but I'm trying. So I think.
Yeah, so the key for you is just you're aware that it's something that you have to be intentional about, otherwise it's going to run rampant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, sometimes my mind will start and it'll go, and it's been 2-3 hours and I'm like, dude, I'm home, I gotta stop.
Katie will look at
Smack
you
me
and
around.
go, I know where you're at.
Yeah. So it is. That's just the awareness and just constant effort to try and control it is the big thing. Control the balance, because both are important. You don't want to let go of either one. But my primary responsibility in my life is my family. So that's keeping that in the forefront is it.
So proud of you, man. So really, so proud of you. Share with us something that in the midst of this run that has been difficult for you, but you found a way around it. You figured it out. People that are in the middle of something right now, my pastor always says, everybody you know is in the middle of, going into, or coming out of something, right?
Yeah.
And you've been really transparent in sharing, everything that you've shared so far today. So what is something, you shared a little bit about hiding in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That'd be one example. Is there another example that you can think of, something that you've had to overcome so that you could continue on this path that you're on?
Oh, absolutely. And to go back to what your pastor said, we go to Crossroads Mason, and Brian Tome has taught us something very similar to that, of you're either in Egypt, the desert, or the promised land. Okay. And so you're going to have temporary runs in all of them. And you're going to have great times in life, hard times in life, and sometimes where you're just lost. You don't know where you're at yet.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing that I've had to overcome personally to do this is I'm a very introverted, shy person. I don't like cameras. I don't like attention. I don't like public speaking. At Christmas Day, I'd hide in the corner and open my presents by myself. And so I've had to say, look, you've got two choices. You can give in to that natural characteristic, or you can't do what you want to do and be shy. That's not an option. You cannot do that. And so if you want to have an influence and you want to grow, you have to take that out of your character. And so that was the biggest thing that I've struggled with, is to somehow be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Is to thrive in areas where there's a camera there and I'm talking to you, and then 2 hours from now when we're talking to people, is figure out how to thrive in an area where I'm naturally not comfortable.
What do you think? I mean, I can't think of anything that would be more difficult than trying to overcome something that comes naturally. What was the drive? Was the drive, hey, I want to have an impact? I want to have influence?
It was such a simple thought process. Not a simple, not actually carrying it out wasn't simple, but the thought was, you got two choices. You're either going to make it or you're not, and this is going to either stand in your way or you're going to have to overcome it and reshape it somehow. And that was it. I mean, it was as simple as knowing I cannot do what I want to do if I allow that to consume me. And I still, like I said, it's still extremely,
doesn't go away.
No, it's very uncomfortable for me. I still don't like opening presents in front of people. I don't like it. I'd rather we all just take our presents, go back to our room.
Go to the bathroom.
Yeah, go to the bathroom, yes.
Dive in a car.
Even safer than your room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, let's all
so
split them up.
That, I still don't like that. We have jokes in my family. Like, you could call Shanda, Jim, any of my family members and ask them, like, what would happen if we all sang happy birthday to Charlie right now? Like, oh, no. Cut, don't do it. Don't do it. The party's over.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say bright red.
Oh, no, it was worse. I would walk out. It was
that was Brittany.
Terrifying
Same
to
way.
me. I hated it. I actually, like, Katie doesn't like this story, but
Sorry, Katie.
When we were getting married, we had our rehearsal dinner at Buca de Beppo, and they have some ritual there, or some like tradition where you have to stand up on a chair and do this, and they embarrass you or whatever. And I got in a not a good situation with the waitress, like, because I was like, look, I don't think you understand. Like, it's not, and she was super persistent, which I gotta give it to her. But that was very interesting. So overcoming that is definitely the big thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's just so inspiring, because I know anybody that listens to your story is going to be able to relate in some form or fashion of being in a scenario where it's like, this is so far out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And trying to find the motivation to get ourselves, not just to go there once, but to continue to go there, is the key to a really well-lived life.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is, you asked yourself two questions. Do I want to hide for the rest of my life? Or do I want to go and have an impact? And if I want to follow my passion, this is something I have to get over. And it was severe.
Yeah. Oh, it was real.
There's not a lot of kids that would have, to that severity, have that kind of,
Well, my buddy and I, we struggled through it together in college, because we forced ourselves into public speaking courses and stuff.
Did you really?
Which is the worst if you're not into that kind of thing. Because they would do exercises like, if you're up speaking, every time you'd say she would ring a bell. Because she said you can pause, but there is no
What was her name?
I don't remember. It's suppressed memory, I think. No, it was terrible.
We were going to give her a shout out. We were going to have her come on next.
I literally don't remember. Yeah. Like, it was that bad. So
you were too worried.
Yeah. So if I'd say she'd ring the bell, and his name's Harley Proctor. He's a good friend of mine in college. We would both be like physically sick before, but we both pushed through it, and we learned things, and it's helped me in my professional life after.
I'm glad that you said you went through it with somebody else. I think that's a key point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's been
having
things.
a Harley Proctor to be able to walk through it with. If someone's looking for practicalities, how do I get through this? Find somebody else that's in the same boat, and let's lock arms. Let's go do this together.
It goes back to your natural desire to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And there's things personally that I've gone through in my life and professionally that if it hadn't been for my wife, I would have never made it. Just because, not that she had the answers, but we didn't have the answers together, and we were able to lean on each other and just kind of navigate through. And so I think that the relationship is super important, and it's something that I think we lose a little bit after. It's easy to make friends in school because you're kind of forced into big groups, whereas when you work 60, 70 hours a week, come home and like, man, we have no friends. Like, so that's something Katie and I are working on right now. Is we just got plugged into an awesome small group at church to try and just meet people to have that relationship, because it's incredibly important. We could talk for hours about, because I've researched a lot of the connections between mental illness and lack of relationship, and it's a huge connection.
Really?
Oh, it's incredible. It would blow your mind if you actually sat down and read all of the connection. And so I think if you are in a point where you're not feeling the greatest, just simply having a relationship and working through life with somebody else changes everything.
What did you study that? What did you look at?
The almighty Google. Like, I just literally started, because we talked about it in church, and I just started going to a search engine and started looking for connection between relationship and overcoming depression, connection with relationship and overcoming anxiety, just to try and see, because Brian Tome said it, so it must be true, in my mind. So I went in and just started reading articles, and there's just been findings of a true connection and overcoming mental illness with having a relationship.
I mean, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, you're designed to do X, and then you're walking out Y.
Yeah.
And,
it's
going to fly in the face of something that's healthy.
Yeah.
Charlie, we got to do this again.
Whenever you want.
Huh?
Whenever you want.
I mean, really, I know people are going to be so encouraged and motivated and inspired by the way you're walking things out,
That would be a big gift.
That'd
be cool.
Yeah, and you've had to go through some really tough things to get there.
Yeah.
And what a lesson for all of us to be able to take, to be able to take away and say, hey, listen, I'm in the middle of it right now, and it doesn't feel too good, but what are my options?
Yeah.
You went back to two of them. I can go hide in the bathroom, or I can turn around and try to do something that's going to help me get out of this hole.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that as we close down, that really helped me, that is, I mentioned it once, but Grant Cardone, I'll give the credit for this. He's an automotive trainer, and he said you have to learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, because if you can be aware of what's going on with your body and all the physical things that you go through during stress, you can really overcome it. You can learn to thrive in those situations where the pressure's on, the camera's on, the lights, like all these things that can distract you and take you off course, all can fade away if you're just aware of that opportunity to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And so that him saying that in just a sales training video back in 2009 probably really had a big impact on me. I was like, well, just think about it. Like, it's a choice to be uncomfortable. I mean, it's natural, but you can't overpower it with choice. And so he said, learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And that helped in because I actually hate negotiating, which is funny. I'm in the car business. I despise it. I don't like it. That's why I love the new style where everything's online.
It flies in the face of relationships, which is what you're passionate.
Everything's online, which I wouldn't made it in the car business probably back in the 70s. So now everything's online, so it's great. But he said there's going to be times where you're at the end of your rope, the customer's at the end of their rope, and someone's going to have to give, or you're going to have to part ways as friends. And so there's going to be times when you say, this is the best that I can do to make this work for you. And you just have to sit back, relax, and learn to be uncomfortable. And learn to be comfortable in that uncomfortable, awkward time, because they have to make a decision to take that deal or to walk away. And there's nothing more you can do. So learn to overcome the natural anxiety, weird, this is so awkward feeling, and just be comfortable and just wait for whatever they decide to do is their choice, and you help them in either direction. If they buy it, shake hands and take your thumbs up picture. If they don't, walk them out to their car, give them a brochure, and hope you're there for the next opportunity. And that was a big help for me.
So have you found that getting easier for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you still, okay.
Once you realize it's possible, it's amazing. And actually, like, I just went and watched a movie that came out, and one of the actresses she was being interviewed about the role that she had to take for the movie, and they were saying, like, one thing you had to do is learn how to hold your breath for 5 minutes. Like, what was that like? She said, well, they brought in deep sea divers, and they kind of explained it was amazing how different it was to hold my breath for extended period of times once I understood what my body was going to do. They explained that you're going to have miniature convulsions at minute 2.5 to 3. You have to just realize that those are natural, non-damage causing, like a natural reaction from your body due to lack of oxygen. But you're not in trouble yet. You still have another couple minutes, you're fine. So she's like, once I realized that all this stuff that was happening to my body was natural and I could overcome it, I felt better. And she's like, I made it to 5 minutes. I tried it out like a minute and a half. So I didn't really pick up all the.
Tried to hold your breath?
Yeah, I was like, man,
you
she
weren't
could do
alone,
it.
Were you?
Yeah, I didn't. No. So I was like, the deep sea dive, I needed some coaching, but it was incredible for her to say that, because I realized that same thing with me in business is once you realize that certain things are going to happen naturally that cause you to be uncomfortable. And you just realize, yep, that's natural. That all, like, I'm starting to sweat. That's just kind of a part of it. You just got to keep going, keep doing what you're doing, and you can overcome it. So yeah, it's cool.
And the focus while you're driving to overcome it, the reason you put yourself back in the uncomfortable position is because you knew the alternative was to hide.
Yeah.
And have no impact.
Yep.
And things shrink.
Yeah.
And that's so fascinating to me too, that you went to study that relationships and mental illness and the impact that one has on the other.
Yeah. It's incredible.
It's just amazing how that all comes together.
Yeah, and it is. We live in an age now that we're so fortunate to have the resources. And if you want something in life, you don't have to drive to the library. It's out there. You can go online and find the things that you want. Now you have to be careful because anyone can publish information. But if you can find patterns and consistencies, you can learn from home. I mean, and that's something I'm very thankful for, because I mean, like I said, coming from a household where my father left when I was young, I learned how to tie a tie on YouTube. I mean, it's incredible that wasn't. I didn't have to go to the dance without a tie because I didn't have someone in there. I just YouTube how to tie a tie, boom, double Windsor, done.
I've never learned. Can you teach me that?
Yeah.
On our next episode, I need to learn how to do a double Windsor.
Yeah. That's the only one I know, but yeah.
Well, I'll teach you another one. I don't know what it's called, but it's probably much easier.
You just got to be careful, because sometimes they call me Charles Barkley at work sometimes. Like, oh, you got the power knot, so you got to keep it tight. You can't let it get fluffy.
You go back to the 70s.
Yeah.
They wore them like that back then.
Yeah.
This has been, of all the interviews I've done, I've learned more in this interview than I have in any of the other ones. I'm so thankful for you being willing to share it with me, and I'm excited for people to have an opportunity. I think I've told you this many times. You make me want to be better. You inspire me. I tell people that ask me about buying cars, I'm like, listen, if I could start over, I'd want to go work for this guy. He makes me want to sell cars. And now I know why. It's because you're passionate not only about what you do, but you're actually setting that aside. You're passionate about people.
Yeah.
You know, that's what drives you, and you're passionate about your family. And you're willing to walk through difficult things in order to get to where you want to go. Unbelievable, man. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you very much. I
Thanks.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, Chuck.
Of course.